Hi everyone, I'm Colleen McDaniel, Editor-in-Chief of Cruise Critic. Thanks for joining us today. Cruise Critic had the pleasure of sitting down for an exclusive interview with legendary artist Lee Greenwood. The singer and songwriter has had 7 #1 hits and 25 charted singles in his career, winning numerous awards, including a Grammy for Top Male Vocal Performance. He is partnered with American Queen Steamboat Company and will be performing on 6 cruises on American Duchess this year. Enjoy our chat. Well, good morning. We are so excited today to welcome Mr. Lee Greenwood to join us here and talk a little bit about our favorite topic, and that's cruising. Lee Greenwood is going to be joining American Queen Steamboat Company for some upcoming sailings this year. So thank you so much for taking the time this morning, Lee. Let's go ahead and jump right in. First of all, tell us about your experience with American Queen Steamboat Company and cruising in general.
You know, it's funny. I have 2 sons. One is 25. His name is Dalton Lee, and he is now getting a PhD in cancer research at Vanderbilt because we live in the Nashville area, and it's very convenient to have him close to us. And by the way, he's just proposed to his girlfriend.
Oh, congratulations!
She's a Vanderbilt grad too, Sarah Paulette, and so we're so excited about that. And the relevance is, when he was 3 months old, we had the inaugural cruise on the American Queen out of New Orleans. And I can remember very well, we wanted to have dinner by ourselves, and the 2 maids that were working on the ship said, "Oh, we'll take your baby." And I'm like, can we do that? And Kim says, "I really want to eat." So we actually surrendered our child to these 2 young ladies who were servicing on the ship, and they were very great to take care of him for a few moments and give us a little respite. So that was our initial visit on a steamboat. And of course, living in the Nashville area, we have paddle wheelers up and down the Cumberland, but the Mississippi was its history, and the paddle wheelers. The American Queen has brought it to such a new level that cruising is such a pleasure now on these boats.
That's wonderful. That's so great.
We'll be there 3 times this year. Our first cruise is April 11, 12, boarding in Clarksville. And by the way, April 11 is our anniversary, our 29th anniversary. So my wife will probably be with me that day.
Oh, that's great. Well, happy anniversary, a little bit early.
Thank you.
Now, you said, you have a home in Tennessee. Tell me a little bit about what makes the Mississippi River so special, because this is such a unique itinerary.
I think you have to go back in history and see how important the river boats were, the paddle wheelers were, to economy, to travel, to entertainment. You see some old pictures of the banjo players, standing and actually singing music in New Orleans and then St. Louis, and a few of the other docking points, Memphis, of course. And by the way, my wife is the executive director of the Miss Tennessee USA pageant and the Mississippi USA pageant. And so it's relevant for us to actually get on the boat in Clarksville and have some of that history passed on to some of the passengers, because that's what we do. And I know the Steamboat Company does that as well. And when they dock in Clarksville, they'll actually get off and have a visit to, I believe, Fort Campbell, which is right bordering Kentucky and Tennessee. And we're there many times during the year welcoming soldiers home. So there's a lot of interesting things to see in Clarksville, which I think is the 4th star on the flag in Tennessee. Because, we have Memphis, Nashville, and Knoxville, and or Bristol or Chattanooga. But I think Clarksville is such an amazing place that has survived all kinds of storms and everything. And then, of course, services Fort Campbell.
Can you tell me a little bit more about some of your favorite memories of the river?
Yes. There's been so many times that not only have I crossed over the Mississippi, because I tour by bus. And we've stopped many times, walked down to the river's edge and taken pictures there. There are actually stories of people who have caught catfish that is as big as my bus. And it may be a little bit of a fabrication, but I know that they're very large in Mississippi, and it's a very swift river. There have been people who have tried to cross it by swimming and actually drowned. So it's not something you can actually swim in all the time, but when the Mississippi swells, you don't mess with the Mississippi. and it could be a very dangerous river to boat in, but not for the American Queens because they're very safe. And this particular cruise that we're going to be on, because of COVID restrictions, we're going to do two shows in Clarksville on the Duchess because they can't put everybody in one performance, which I thought was extremely intelligent of them to do that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think part of what makes the Mississippi so appealing to maybe those of us who aren't as close is that there's this thought of it kind of being a lazy sort of journey through some of the most historic parts of the country. And so I think that's a really great way of saying, like, hey, this is a really safe way of seeing exactly that, the very iconic parts of the country.
The geography up and down the Mississippi revels anything in the world. And you can see the quaintness of America from the ship, which you cannot see from the shore. So the people who board in some of the southern ports and go all the way up north, you're going to see some really magic country that you wouldn't be able to see any other way.
What do you most look forward to performing on American Duchess this year?
Well, first of all, I think they're probably going to have a lot of my fans, and we haven't had many shows in 2020. And so this will be our second time to perform as a group. And I know it's a very small stage, so we're going to have more of an intimate performance rather than such a loud, boisterous show like we have at the casino the other night in Florida. And currently, I'm still in Florida, by the way, getting ready to go back to Nashville and get prepared for our performance in Clarksville.
That's great. Yeah, the weather must be very nice down there. It's starting to get a little spring-like across the country, but Florida, I think, has some pretty great weather right now.
Yeah, as the weather turns, the Tennessee weather it gets magic in April. We were married in April, and so the blossoms are all out. Clarksville is going to be a wonderful temperature during that porting for all of the fans, and I know that they're going to be able to get off the boat. But I don't know, because we're performing 2 days, 2 shows each day, how long they're allowed to get off the ship. I suppose it's much like you do a regular cruise ship, right? You get off in the daytime and go back in the evening for our show.
Yeah, and I think that American Queen has been really rigorous in its approach to having people back on board, but being really safe about it. So I know that they're working to keep people in a bubble, and they're working to keep people really safe. And so they've got a lot of things designed to keep them all, to make sure they all have a great time, but also keep everybody safe and healthy.
Yeah, and when they asked me, because we normally do just one show, and we'd have a big enough room to put the entire audience that's on board into one show, and said, we really have to social distance them. Can you do 2 shows? And I said, absolutely. So I talked to Mark Cotter and said, we'll gear our show so that it's special for each audience.
Terrific. What would you like cruise guests to know ahead of your performances?
Well, let's see. Probably a history of my life. I'm from California. I was born in Los Angeles, raised on a farm. So as a farm boy, things like your handshake is your word, you help your neighbors when they need them, just kind of stuck with me. So I'm easily accessible to people. When my wife and I are in public, we are always trying to be nice to folks. I want to be an ambassador for entertainment as well as my own career. Now, COVID has prevented us from doing the normal hugs like we always do. How are you? Handshakes and grab a kiss on each cheek and stuff. But we still try to have a friendly atmosphere. We try to let the public know my entire musical background through my performance. So it's a little bit of a journey rather than just country music, because my mother played piano in the 40s. My father was in the Navy in World War II. And so I have a background of jazz, rhythm and blues, rock, country, and gospel. And we do that mix within our show so that the people get a better look at my entire career in the hour that we're on stage.
That's really terrific. And you have such an iconic playlist. Like, people know your music, and it's very much a part of America. Who's on your playlist right now?
Garth Brooks, Justin Timberlake, and my favorite band of all time, Tower of Power, from Oakland, California. I'm a horn player as well. It's my main instrument is saxophone, and so many of the horn bands of those era, Earth, Wind and Fire, Chicago, and so forth were just favorites of mine. And so that's kind of what I have mainly on my list. But I like music instead of singers because I don't like to have lyrics sink into me because I'm a writer. And lots of times when you write something, create something, you'll have something stuck in your mind from somebody else and you can't get it out of your head. I don't want to write something somebody else has done. That's plagiarism. And so I listen to more instrumentals than singers.
That's quite an interesting mix, though. Garth Brooks, Tower of Power, and Justin Timberlake. What is,
Well, Justin, they're all friends of mine, actually.
oh, of course, yeah, Justin Timberlake has the connection down there as well. That makes a
He
lot of
has a home
sense.
in the Nashville area.
Yeah, wonderful. Who is your dream to collaborate with?
Well, you know what, Colleen, I've already done that. When I was at MCA with Reba McEntire, George Strait, the Oak Ridge Boys, and Barbara Mandrell, I toured with Barbara. And when we were meeting her at an engagement in Alabama or Florida, I believe it was, I, that afternoon, before I left on my bus, wrote a song called We Were Meant for Each Other. And I had a demo singer come in and demo the track for me. And I went to Florida. I knocked on her trailer and went in and we chatted. And I just loved her. She was such a great entertainer. And I said, I've written a song that we could do as a duet. I played it for her. She said yes. Her producer, Tom Collins, and my producer, Jerry Crutchfield, got together and they formed a production company called Tom and Jerry Productions. I thought that was kind of funny. And we produced an entire album. The album was called We Were Meant for Each Other. And the Grammy nomination song, To Me, which was written by Mike Reed, was a song that I sang on stage with her for the 2.5 years we toured together. So that was my dream duet. And I sang with her twice after that on record, but that was the one that was so magic.
Oh, you're speaking my language because I grew up watching Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell sisters. That was a big part of my childhood. So I definitely, I feel that one.
Cool.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Now, you've got a couple dates in December as well. What can people expect that might be different for your December performances?
Yeah, I think it's December 12 and 14. We actually, all of the dates prior, the 2 dates prior were back to back. This skips a day, and I'm not exactly sure why. That's the docking schedule, I think, of the Duchess. In any case, we have a complete Christmas show that when I had my own theater in East Tennessee near Dollywood, a 2,000-seat theater, we actually have an entire Christmas show that continues traditional music as well as new music. There are actually no hits in the song in our show at all. So that will be a special performance in December on the Duchess, is just our Christmas performance.
And what should people expect the weather to be like for a holiday sailing?
Well, first of all, it won't be rough. And that's the first thing I consider because I get seasick. And so it'll be, the Mississippi doesn't get rough like a lake or an ocean. That's good. But in December, it'll be chilly. But we haven't had snow except this year. It's the first time we've had snow in Nashville in, I think, 12 or 13 years. So as the weather patterns shift, I'm quite sure in December there won't be any snow. But even if there was a light snowing in December, what's more magic than that at Christmas?
It feels like Christmas, right?
Yeah. And it'd really be cool if you were cruising and you had a little bit of snow falling. That would be really pretty.
One of the things that I love about American Queen Steamboat Company and traveling that part of the country in particular are the amazing culinary experiences.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us about your favorite dishes and what you love to eat.
Salads, first of all, like a Caesar salad. My wife and I now we're getting to the point where we start sharing food, so we've been married a while. They made a dish for me when I was on the ship of pasta, and it was delicious lasagna. Then I think the next night we had a roasted chicken, I think it was, and the Epicurean Delight. I'm telling you, it's just the finest restaurant you could imagine, and they make it with not just great food, but surpassed by great service. So you will have an experience in dining that you may not expect on a small ship, but by no means is this a small ship or a boat. I don't know if you call it a ship or a boat. I guess it's
I think both is okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, And you probably noticed of course it's powered other than the paddle wheel,
Right.
but it's magic because it looks like it's actually days of old, with the paddle wheels moving.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic experience, and it does. You can imagine what it was like way back when that actually was the kind of power they used to move ships up and down that river.
Colleen, I don't know, if you read a lot of books, but we can romanticize about the 18 and 1900s and some of the wonderful things that went on, particularly the moving of the opera houses west with the covered wagons and things like that. Let me tell you, there was there's no way you could get clean. There was no way to get a shower. It's like you can romanticize all you want. It was not good. But when you look at it through the prism of American Queen and its steamships, I mean, you have the luxurious feeling of being in one of the finest hotels in the country, but also you can see America's past.
And I think that's a perfect way of putting it. One of my favorite things to do when I'm on board those ships is to sit on a chair on that beautiful wraparound promenade area and just watch the world go by.
That's exactly right. That's what you can do.
Well, is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you are dying to talk about?
Yes, as far as our fans, before you get on the ship, if you'd like to go to our website and find the newly edited and posted digital albums. Universal has just released 8 of my first albums digitally, and they're available on Spotify, as well as 2 albums never heard of before by Time Life Warner on Spotify. One is called Same River, Different Bridge, and the other is Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which I'm very proud of that album as well. That was only our second Christmas album. And so you can kind of get familiar with some of our music, and we play a lot of our hits when we come on the boat. So if you forgot what kind of hits we had 11 #1 songs and 30 or so songs on the top 10 in the years of the 80s and 90s and into the 2000s. Well, then you'll be ready for some of those songs that I'll sing live. And of course, people are always waiting for me to sing my signature song, and we do that every show.
That's wonderful. And what's that signature song?
God Bless the USA.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so excited to hear about this, and I can't wait to hear about people's experiences. It's been so wonderful to talk with you, and congratulations again on your son's engagement, and happy early anniversary.
Thank you, Colleen, and thanks for covering this in the Critique.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn more about Lee Greenwood and American Queen Steamboat Company, click the links below. And if you like this video, please hit that like button and let us know what you think in the comments.